All right, so let's talk about how this is going to work and why this is going to work. At its base, you have a business. Let's put it up here. Come on, let's put it up here. You have a business. This business has, regardless of what area it's in, which of our market segments it fits into, it has common needs and interests, okay? And in my last video, I was talking about how, marketing is that's the number one thing that everybody's concerned with. And I will say that as a business grows and as a business gets busier, one of the things it concerns itself with is, well, I can't take on any more clients. I need to focus on my existing businesses. But first off, I would say they got their own problem that we can help them with. But everybody else, okay, everybody else is going to be sitting here saying, my life would be better if I had more prospects, if I had better prospects, if I had the ability to choose which prospects I wanted to work with as clients or customers, as opposed to having to work with them because that's all I got. I would also be in a better financial position because if I have lots and lots and lots and lots of people coming demanding my services and I have a limited supply of my time and energy, then as you have increased demand and supply stays the same, prices can go up. So you can charge more for your products and services because you have greater demand. So if we have our little business here, then what I do and what I'm going to be training you to do is to look at that business, and you can do sort of two different things. You can just go there and say, it's kind of like an artist. You can go there and say, oh, I think we should do this, and I think we should do this, and let's put some blue over there, and blah, 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 and do all this kind of creative stuff. And that's super fun, and you should definitely do it. But there's also another approach, which is to take it more like a scientist, and to take your checklist, and to say, do they have this? Yes. Do they have this? Yes. Do they have this? No. Okay, if they do not have this, kind of like a flow chart, if they do not have this, then we should go over here and we go into this box and we do this, and then if they have that, then it's yes or it's no, and we do, etc. We do this kind of analysis of their business. And again, my contention or theory would be that as you get better, as you learn more, as you've seen more businesses, you're going to be able to do the artist stuff much better. But it's not bad to start with the checklist stuff, which is sort of what I'm going to be, working with you on. But let's just look at a business and what their needs are, right? So let's say you have a business, and let's just break it into, let's just say that you have a painter, or you have an attorney, which is a lawyer, for those of you who don't know, or you have a doctor, or you have a pet sitter, or you have a suggestion, anything. Let's just do something that's radically different. Let's just say you have a massage therapist or a restaurant. We'll just do those. All right? So these are wildly different businesses, I would argue, different skills involved, different training involved, different tools involved, different customers involved, very, very different businesses. And they each have a way of doing what's called fulfillment on their promise. Every business is going to have a promise. You go to the doctor to get well. You go to the massage therapist to get sort of well, but healthier. You go to the attorney to get your problem solved. You go to the pet sitter to get your pet sit. You go to the painter to get your house painted. You go to the restaurant to get a good meal and a good experience. So fulfillment on that promise, fulfillment on what their, that's what it's called. It's called a promise. You make a promise and people give you money because they believe that your promise will help them with whatever their challenge is. They all fulfill their promise in different ways. So if we were trying to help everybody do their business differently, then we'd be going off in a variety of different directions. And don't get me wrong, that can be fun, and it's something that you're going to get better and better at, but that's not where we start. All of these businesses have common a common challenge, which is how do you let people know that you exist? How do you let the right people know that you exist? How do you get them into action so that they are visiting you, calling you, checking you out online, whatever? And then once they have done that, how do you get them to take you up on your promise, which is called a purchase, right? They're going to say, yes, I want your doctor services, massage therapy services, attorney services, pet sitter, blah, 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 so that you can start to fulfill and go through your process of, taking their temperature or massaging their back or, it's asking them for paperwork or whatever it is that your business actually is. But what we need to do is we need to work on the marketing side, all right? And so that's really what businesses need from us, from you as a marketing consultant, as a marketing firm. They need for you to discover a little about their business, ask them some questions, take a look at what they're doing right now, look at it against, if I had a clipboard, look at it against what you know works and what you know doesn't work based on what we've been talking about here, and then sort of come to them and say, listen, here's what I suggest. Now, I talk about think big, start small right now. There is not a business. I'm in the middle of Fort Hunt right now, Fort Hunt community of Alexandria. And there is not a business in this community that I could not go into right now and say, hey, let me do A for you. Let me do one thing for you that's probably been on your list, or if it hasn't been on your list, it should have been on your list. Let me do that for you, and that will help you with your business. Okay? Now, I'm not saying I can go into every business in here and get them to stroke me a check or write me, give me cash or a credit card, but I'm just saying I could go into any business and do something that would help them potentially attract more customers, right? Even if I just went in there and took a sign from their business and put it somewhere else, that would increase the likelihood that a prospective customer would find them. If I went to a business and took a picture and then went on to Nextdoor and posted that and said, hey, I just visited this business. Here it is. Did you know this business existed in our community? That might have a benefit. I could take a flyer or a flyer that they gave me or a flyer that I made up, and I could go post it on a bulletin board somewhere. And that would increase the likelihood that somebody would discover their business. So what's my point? I like this I'm not sure if you see it, but this kind of light comes in, and it either goes really light or really dark. And I kind of like it. It's interesting feedback on the business or on the video. So what's my point? My point is that you can start thinking about that and start discovering higher and higher order strategies, actions, activities that you could take, that you could do on behalf of the business. But every business has them, okay? I do not care how, we have some businesses in this community that are really, really, really well run and that are very, very creative, but nobody does all the stuff that they need to do. And I'll tell you a little horrible secret. Most of them don't do the stuff that they desperately need to do because they're so busy in fulfillment, okay? And they don't have somebody like you who can come in here, see what needs to do, and then plan out how to do it, and then actually implement and do it. And that's really what we want you to be able to do. So so then what are we really talking about? It's lead generation. What we want to do is we want to attract what are called leads. And these are people that are good prospective customers who know about the business, who have raised their hand and said, yes, I'm interested in you, doctor. Yes, I'm interested in you, massage therapist, attorney, pet sitter, etc. Okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to take a sort of multiplicity, a big collection of different actions based on what the business is already doing, either well or not at all in most cases. And we're going to try to put their business in a specific thing. We're going to call it, I'll talk to you about it later, but we're going to put a specific thing in front of those customers, which is going to lead them to come into what's called our funnel. And a funnel is where we have leads. Is that on the video? Leads coming in, and then they go through steps and steps and steps and steps and steps until they purchase. Okay? And so that's, every business does it. I mean, if you walk into if you have a clothes store and you put an ad in the newspaper, the lead leads them to the store, and then they walk into the store, and at some point they meet a salesperson, or they meet the register, and they buy something. So you can have a very quick funnel or very quick sales cycle, or you can have a very detailed one. Okay? But our job is to talk to the business and find out, what are they doing? I like to think of it like this. There's what you know you should be doing, but you're not doing. There's what you know you should be doing and you are doing. And then there's what you don't know you should be doing and you're not doing. And if we can talk to them about those things, then we can either just help them do the stuff that they know they need to do, right? They know they need to be posting things on social media more regularly. They know they need to be coming into contact with their existing customers to try to attract new business more regularly. Then there's the stuff that they know they should be doing, and they are doing, right? They are putting out a sandwich board. They are putting out a sign outside. They are occasionally putting an ad in the paper. They are keeping in contact with their customer list. Great. We can see if we can help them do that better. And then there's the stuff they don't even think about. And I'll be honest with you, man, you are going to be in a great position to introduce them to some things, which means that you're going to also have to. I was listening yesterday to the soundtrack from Hamilton, and one of the lines in one of the songs is talk less, right? I think it's talk less, smile more, but it's talk less. And one of the things that when you start to learn this stuff, you're going to feel like Thor with his hammer, right? And you're going to be like, hey, you can do this, and you can do this, and you can do this. And it's funny, anybody who knows me who's watching this is like, yeah, Fraser, you should not be teaching this. You are the guilty, you're the culprit of giving people a bunch of ideas. So one of the things that we're going to try to talk about is how to dial that back a little bit. So even though you know everything, even though you can see everything, how do you, much like we talked about earlier in terms of psychology, how do you put it in front of them so that they actually hear it, so that it actually makes their life better, as opposed to you just saying, you can do this, and you can do this, and you can do this, and you can do this, all right? But so that's what we're going to be talking about in terms of what do businesses need? And I'm going to leave you with an acronym that I think can be very valuable. And because it gives you a way to think about how businesses sell. And the acronym is AIDA. And this is a good way to think a little bit of a funnel, okay? Because when you're talking to a business, and we haven't really talked about sort of defining your target market yet, and we haven't talked about niching or anything like that, or messaging even. But from a high level, when you're talking to a business, you need to get them to see things the way that I'm talking to you about so that you can help them. And the question is, it's typically all of the above, but the question is, which of these things is a problem? Is it getting the customer's attention? You know, you can't do anything with a customer or a prospective customer if they don't know that you exist, right? So if you're driving by a store and you never know it exists, it doesn't matter what they're doing inside. It doesn't matter what their messaging is. It doesn't matter what their pricing is. Until you have their attention, until you have their awareness, nothing else matters. Then the question is, are you able to get them interested in you? Now this is very important because, and I said that we weren't going to talk about it right now, but maybe we'll just allude to it, is one of the things that most businesses do wrong and badly is define their customer, their target customer. You hear it all the time. You say to somebody, hey, so who's your target customer? And they say, everybody. Everybody needs what I'm selling. Everybody is not a customer, okay? Now, I'm not saying necessarily that if somebody comes into your store and they want to buy what you have, that you should not sell to them because they aren't in your target market. What I'm saying is that in marketing, we need to decide who we want to get in front of to get their attention and who's most likely to be interested in what we're selling, and specifically because we're going to craft our message. We're going to craft what we're saying to the person who we're trying to say it to. Because if I start talking about, I don't have it up here, a massage therapist, and I say, oh my God, this massage therapy is going to help so much with your creaking bones, and it's going to clear up all the wrinkles on your face, and it's going to, help you with the, to get into your wheelchair. Well, that is a clear message that's oriented towards somebody who is elderly with some either bone or, bone joint issues, or who is in a wheelchair. If I just put that message out willy-nilly, then people who are younger, people who are not having those health issues are going to ignore it. It's going to be like blah, 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 blah to them, and they're never going to get that person's attention. Well, it's similar if you just say, we can help you get well. If the problem with that is that that's as much blah, blah, blah because of the world we live in where there's so much messaging and so much stuff trying to get our attention. If it's just general, you blah, blah, blah right past that, which means you fail to get the person's attention. And then once you have their attention, which you don't, you aren't able to get them interested in what you want. And then the next steps, we'll talk about these well later, but the next steps are desire and action, right? You need to go from somebody being interested, and that's really where we get into psychology, that's where we get into copywriting, that's where we get into what kind of stuff could help you build the relationship with the person that you're talking to. And you build, and there's all kinds of stuff. I mean, as my intention is, if you've been on our website, anything that I do, hopefully anything that I know how to do to help you or your parents make a decision, I'm going to do, right? I'm going to introduce. But I'm also going to call out and tell you what I'm doing, right? I mean, as a good example, as we get closer to the end of our 7 days, I'm going to be trying to create some urgency and some scarcity for you so that you'll say, oh, I want to be one of the 15 people who are in the new Marketing University class. I'm going to be extolling and magnifying the benefits of being in the class, the things that you're going to get from participating, so that you see a big promise, right? Because I feel confident in our fulfillment, you're going to have a big promise. Well, I want to make that real to you. That's all the psychology and the awareness of how people make decisions and how people develop desire. So that's something that you can bring. I guarantee you, if you go to, once we get through talking about some of this stuff, you're going to be able to go into any business and look at their advertising, look at their brochures, look at how their shop is set up, look at their communications with their customers, look at their website, for goodness sake. And you're going to be able to say, let's apply the principle of scarcity. Let's apply the power of association. Let's apply the 4 principles of pricing. Let's apply that in your business. And they're going to either know what you're talking about and say, yeah, I just don't do that well, or they're not going to know what you're going to talk about, and they're going to think that you're some sort of, a superhero coming down to help them out. And then, of course, action. And, we're going to talk about how to reduce the barriers to action, how to increase the momentum for action. There's a concept called risk reversal, which you're going to be able to implement, that makes it easier for somebody to take action and buy from you than for them not to take action. I mean, that's what you want, right? You want it to be easier for them to buy than for them not to buy. And again, when I say buy from you, I mean from your customer. You can have a business if you want. This is all about, this is the secret. This is all about you getting out of the business of fulfillment. And when I mean fulfillment as a doctor, fulfillment as a lawyer, fulfillment as a plumber. Let the people who either like to do it or who are trained to do it or who are good at doing that, Let them do their business. You can come in there and attract customers, help them sell, help them get more people to help. You can do that, and you can then leave them to what they do best. Does that make sense? That's what we're trying to do here. And when we talk about sort of what businesses need, hopefully in this lesson you're going to have you'll have a good list of things. There's probably 104 things that we could do to help a business get more attention and even start to get people more interested. And then once they're in the funnel, we start talking about building desire and taking action. All right?